The dusty streets of Ouagadougou pulsed with a strange electric tension that morning, the kind of silence that screams louder than words. 8-year-old Amara clutched the edge of her mother Fatima's worn cotton dress as they navigated the crowded, sun-drenched marketplace, where the familiar scent of millet, sweat, and dried fish now carried something heavier: fear. The vendors spoke in half-whispers, their voices tight, eyes darting nervously toward the government buildings that loomed in the distance like mute concrete sentinels. Even at her age, Amara had learned to read the city's moods. She recognized the subtle signs of instability: the military trucks that rumbled through the streets like growling beasts, the government radio stations repeating the same hollow patriotic songs, and her teacher's cryptic warnings about changes coming to our beloved nation. But today felt different. Today, even the air itself buzzed with anticipation, a storm not of weather, but of fate. As they passed a checkpoint, Amara watched the soldiers with sharp, calculating eyes. Their rifles flashed in the Sahelian sun, fingers resting lightly on triggers, their gazes cold and sweeping. She had seen this before, this careful, quiet choreography before a regime moved. Whispers at the communal well had turned into warnings. Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the young revolutionary who had ignited the hearts of Burkina Faso's people with his defiant stance against foreign military bases and colonial exploitation, was in grave danger. The old guard, fattened by corruption, backed by foreign interests, had grown tired of his boldness. They wanted him erased, silenced. Amara understood more than anyone suspected. She had seen her father come home from the gold mines every evening, his body caked with dust and his soul drained by the endless labor that enriched others while leaving his own people in chains. She had watched her older brother Mohammed return from youth-led protests, his eyes swollen from tear gas, his shirt torn, his voice hoarse from shouting, "No more occupation." To them, Captain Traoré wasn't just a soldier, he was the symbol of everything they dared to dream: dignity, freedom, and sovereignty. As they reached the fabric section of the market, Fatima's phone buzzed with a message that turned her blood cold. A simple text from her sister, a palace cleaner. "They know. Tonight. Tell everyone." Amara saw her mother's hands tremble and noticed the quick glance exchanged with Madame Cohn, the fabric seller who was pretending to arrange bolts of cloth while listening to a hidden radio. Though the broadcaster spoke of ordinary meetings, the worry carved into their faces told the real story. "Mama," Amara whispered, tugging her sleeve. "What's happening?" Fatima knelt and met her eyes, voice steady but laced with dread. "Sometimes, little one, good people are hunted because they stand for what is right. Captain Traoré is one of them." Around them, the marketplace continued its performance. Children chased chickens between dusty stalls, merchants haggled over prices, motorcycles weaved between people, but beneath it all, something had shifted. The rhythm of daily life had cracked. Amara noticed how some vendors packed early, how mothers kept their children close, how Madame Cohn began making quiet phone calls. That evening, as their family gathered around a humble meal of rice and sauce, her father spoke in low tones with Mohammed, of equipment being moved in secret, of foreign men entering government buildings under the cover of darkness. The signs were no longer subtle. They were warnings written in plain sight. And Amara, sitting in the soft glow of the evening light, understood what the adults would not say aloud: the storm was no longer coming. It was already here. Back entrances to government buildings were being sealed, and entire phone networks experienced mysterious blackouts in certain neighborhoods. "They want to drag us back to the old ways," Amara's father muttered, his calloused hands gripping the bowl tightly, as if to anchor himself. "To keep us dependent on masters who live across the ocean, while our children starve beside mines full of gold." Muhammad's jaw clenched. "Captain Traoré won't let them. He's not like the others. And that," his father replied, "is exactly why they fear him. A leader who cannot be bought is a threat to those who profit from corruption." As night cloaked Ouagadougou, Amara lay awake on her mat, listening, not to the usual hum of neighborhood chatter, but to the distant growl of military vehicles, static-laced radio chatter, and the brittle, nervous laughter of neighbors pretending everything was still normal. But in her young heart, Amara knew, something irreversible had begun. Tomorrow would bring either freedom or the return of foreign chains. Somewhere in that city, Captain Ibrahim Traoré was preparing for the fight of his life, unaware that a child's silent decision would soon shift the course of the nation's fate. At dawn, the city awoke into a smothering hush. Roosters crowed, but even their calls felt dampened, as if the air itself was listening. Amara rose to find her mother already speaking in frantic whispers with Aunt Aisha, who had arrived before sunrise, her face drawn. "The compound is surrounded," she whispered. "They have his location. My contact in the Presidential Guard says they're waiting for the signal." Amara closed her eyes and pretended to sleep, but her ears captured every word. Captain Traoré had spent the night fleeing from safe house to safe house, always one step ahead, but betrayal was tightening around him. Informants lured by bribes or cornered by threats had betrayed him. Through a small window in their clay compound, Amara watched the unusually silent street. No children heading to school, no women with water buckets. A black car with tinted windows sat motionless at the corner, its shadow heavier than the sun could burn away. Amara's heart pounded. She knew something the adults didn't. 3 nights ago, Mohammed had mentioned in a hushed voice, thinking no one was listening, that Traoré was hiding in the old colonial administrator's house in Sector 15. Abandoned since independence, the structure still stood strong, a relic of past rule now repurposed as a refuge. Kofi, Mohammed's friend, worked as a guard for the company maintaining the place. But Amara realized what the grown-ups hadn't. She was invisible. A child. Unnoticed. Unquestioned. She could move through alleys and checkpoints like water, below suspicion, beyond notice. Where even her brother couldn't go, she could. And now she would. The morning dragged with a rising sense of dread. Texts came in fragments. Military checkpoints were choking every major road out of the capital. The airport was locked down. Foreign journalists were being politely removed under the guise of safety. At school, Mr. Wedrego tried to act normal, his voice forcing its way through multiplication tables and grammar drills, but the strain showed. During recess, children whispered in tight circles, trading fragments of rumors like war stories. Some spoke with that cruel detachment only children can possess, repeating things they didn't fully understand but felt the weight of. And all the while, Amara sat in silence, her mind already forming a plan. Not just to survive, but to deliver hope before it was too late.